Hello and welcome to my garden. In this video today we're going to talk about something really important if you're growing melons vertically, and that is how do you support them as they grow. So I've tried a ton of different ways to do this, and today I'm going to show you my 3 favorite ways to support melons, or really any sort of vining plant that you're growing on a vertical trellis. So let me start by talking a little bit about these plants. This is my absolute favorite melon, and I was so excited when I found the seeds because it is called lemon drop. So it's known for having a stronger acidic taste. So it has that citric acid that most melons don't have. You often get that sort of sweet honey floral quality in, say, a cantaloupe, but these melons have some acidity, so they have that sweetness, but then they finish with more of a tang like a lemon or some sort of citrus fruit, which is what I love the most. I'm not usually a huge fan of melons. I like them okay, but this is by far my favorite. So these are kind of smallish melons. They're said to be only like 1 to 2 pounds, although I have some that are not yet ripe that are probably at least 3 pounds, and they are not done yet. So I have a feeling these are gonna grow bigger. But then that begs the question, what do you do as they're hanging down on this big trellis? Because eventually the stem is not gonna be able to support the weight of these growing melons. So let me show you my 3 favorite ways to support growing melons. And by the way, I super apologize for any sort of giggles that might come out of talking about supporting melons. It's just gonna happen. That's what it is. But my 3 favorite ways to do this, and these are the ones that I have settled on because they are generally, it's because of cost. In some cases they're free. They're convenient, easy to use, long lasting, sturdy, and supportive, and just the things that I find that are the easiest to go to. So let me show you what I mean. The first method I use is just using free stuff that I have lying around my house. And this could be so many different things. It could be, you know, an old t-shirt or old towels, pantyhose, thrifted clothes, even like old or thrifted bras can work really well for larger melons, pun semi-intended. And today I just have like an old pillowcase that I have used before as a plant cover when it gets cold. And so I'm gonna take this pillowcase, and what I like to do with all of these sort of reused materials is to cut them into strips so that I can hang it like a little hammock for my melon. So let me do that really quick. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut this down the sides first. I love that idea of making a hammock for the fruit as it grows. It just, you know, kind of makes me imagine them relaxing in the sunshine, just chilling out after a long, hard day of growing. That's what I would like to do for sure. Although I'm not sure I would make my hammock out of a pillowcase. All right, so I've cut down the sides of the pillowcase. This is a little bit too big, especially for my smaller melons. I don't know, maybe you're growing a big watermelon and this would work well. I'm gonna cut it in half, and the great thing is I ought to be able to use this for, I don't know, 4 or so melons just out of this one pillowcase. So with this, while I'm cutting, what I like about this method, obviously, is because it's free. You know, you can just use what you have lying around. I don't have to go to the store and get anything special or order something online. Any opportunity to reuse things in my house and not consume more stuff, I think is great. So it's free. It's also, you know, it can last decently. I'm not sure how long this will last with just rain and weather. Perhaps not as long as other options, but that's okay because I always have, you know, more things, more old clothes and sheets and things that I can use in this way. Okay, so I very roughly cut this up into strips. This is about, you know, if you're measuring, 1/4 of a pillowcase. So then all I need to do is take this, and I'm actually gonna start by tying it. Here, let me come back around behind. With the cattle panel trellis, it makes it really easy to tie things to. Now, I've mentioned a few things I like about this method. Something that I don't love is that it is bulky. It's sort of a little bit cumbersome to tie. It's not too bad. I've got plenty of space. The other thing that I don't love, it's not super important, but it doesn't look great, you know? It looks like I've tied old clothes and old pillowcase to my trellis, and it's like, not that important. I really don't care. It functions really well. It does what I need it to do. But you know, sometimes it's nice to have things that look a little bit nicer in your garden. Now the key is with all of these that you want to take the weight off of the stem. So you can see the stem here. I want to just make sure that however I tie it, that the melon is not holding its own weight by this tiny little stem, because that's the thing that's going to break over time. But there you go. Works perfectly well. The second method that I like to use is these mesh bags that I got from Amazon. And what I like about them is that they're really inexpensive. I think I paid $15 for 100 of these, so I can grow a lot more melons than I currently have before I run out of these. I also like how stretchy they are. These could fit a really large piece of fruit and hold it pretty sturdily. However, I don't know how strong they are. They feel pretty strong. They're sort of that nylon mesh material. And by the time I tie them to my trellis, I would imagine that they're strong enough to hold several pounds of watermelon inside. So they're pretty easy to use. So this melon, by the way, this is, you know, I could wait a little bit before bagging this guy, but I'm here doing this already for some larger fruit, so I might as well go ahead. But roughly about the size of like a baseball or softball is usually when I come out and do this. But all you have to do is put it in its little bag, kind of move some of these stems around, and then I want to lift it up again to make sure that the weight of the fruit is not being put on the stem. Now here we come to the part I don't really like about these bags. So they do have a drawstring, but I'm not really sure what it's good for. I mean, I could draw it tight and maybe hopefully, I don't know, keep out pests. It's not very strong, so I wouldn't tie it from the drawstring. Instead, what I'm going to do is just tie it around part of this trellis. I'm going to lift it up higher, so again it's hanging on the bottom of the bag, and just tie a simple knot. And this kind of like the sort of scrap fabric pillowcase old clothes version I just showed you, it's just a little awkward to do, to tie a knot with this kind of bulky netting material, but it does work. It's not that hard, and you can see now the fruit is really supported and it's no longer just being supported by that little stem, and it has plenty of room to expand as it grows. So yeah, you know, I don't like how cumbersome it is. I don't love buying another plasticky thing to use in my garden. It's not my favorite thing to do. Now that I have them, I will use them. And I imagine I can find other uses for these in my garden, so hopefully they'll be multi-purpose. Not sure how long they last. I would imagine they last quite a while as long as they don't rip. And you know, again, kind of like the pillowcase, not super attractive. It's sort of hidden, and you could probably get other colors that blend in a little bit better, but it looks like I have a plastic net bag hanging in my garden. Again, not crucial, but something to think about. The third method I like to use is these little net mesh bags that are made out of some sort of nylon or other sort of string. And there's a few things that I like about them. They are really, really strong. These are just could last forever. And I feel like they're more weatherproof because they're not made of fabric or like that cheap nylon netting. So they're gonna last a really long time. You can also get them in a bunch of different sizes. This one's not real big, but it's still gonna be big enough for a several pound, you know, cantaloupe or something, or my little lemon drop melons. And they are gonna last forever. And I really also I like how they look. I know I've mentioned that I don't love the look of the other ones. This one I actually really do like how it looks. I think it looks really cool hanging in the garden. And now, as for what I don't like about them is that they're definitely pricier. So you can get something like this. I think I found on Amazon a 10 pack. It was about $25, or maybe it was better than that. There's a 25 pack for $35, something like that. I'll put it in the description. I've also found nicer brands that are gonna last a lot longer, and that I think was what I found that was like a pack of 10 for about $25. Like I said, they're gonna last a really long time, so it's a good investment. So I like buying things that I'm gonna reuse forever and ever, and that I can just keep coming back to in my garden. Little on the pricey side, however, a little hack for you is that you can make it yourself. I made this, and I am not a macrame expert. I have made exactly one macrame thing in my life, and it is this melon sling. And I just kind of figured it out. So if you are a macrame expert, I apologize. This is not like the most pristine macrame you've ever seen, but it does the job. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in seeing how I made this. I made this one on the smaller side because I knew I didn't need anything super big, but you could very easily make it any size. You could make it any color. You could use jute twine if you wanted a more natural look, and the cost was so small. It was just the cost of the rope, the macrame cord or whatever at the craft store, and then I have a couple of S hooks, and these are going to help me hang them. And that comes to the other thing I really like about these is that I just think they're easier to deal with when you do it this way. You just can hook the little sling up to these S hooks and hook them over the trellis, and you're done. That's all you have to worry about. So let's get this guy on my hero melon here. I feel like I should give him a name. Don't really have a name for it, but it's a big one. It's not ready yet, but hopefully it'll be ready soon. But it is, however, time for me to support it to the trellis. One final tip for you. This may be obvious, but be very gentle when you're doing this because those stems are kind of delicate, and I almost lost my big melon when I was tying the sling on and it slipped out of my hand. So don't do that. Be very careful. All is good though. And I think, you know, what I'll do is use my homemade macrame melon hammocks as long as I can keep up with the production of them. But the good thing is I have the backup plan of the other two methods if I need to use them, and they're both perfectly satisfactory. The real takeaway for you is just get creative. You know, use what you have or what's easy to get or what makes you happy. You know, there's so many chores to do in the garden. You might as well do something that makes you smile, like craft your own melon sling. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.